2019 was called the Year of Ambition for the 25th United Nations Climate Change Conference, otherwise known as COP25. The world came together in Madrid, Spain to further the agreement forged in Paris, France in 2015. COP25's focus on oceans is an issue of huge interest to all of us in the Pacific. The ocean surrounds us, it feeds us, and as Pacific Islanders, it defines us.
We stand at a critical juncture in our collective efforts to limit dangerous global heating. By the end of the coming decade, we will be on one of two paths. One is the path of surrender, where we have sleepwalked past the point of no return, jeopardizing the health and safety of everyone on this planet. Do we really want to be remembered as the generation that buried its head in the sand, that fiddled while the planet burned? The other option is the path of hope, a path of resolve, of sustainable solutions.
One way of taking our issues up at a global level is to come together and participate in these sort of global meetings.
We came to negotiate implementation of the Paris Agreement, to share our experiences, to learn from others, to create discussion and to educate. We came together united, not one voice, but many. Our home for the duration was the Moana Blue Pacific Pavilion, one central place for the whole Pacific, thanks to the support of the New Zealand and Fijian governments.
The Moana Blue Pacific Pavilion is the space for the Pacific to bring their stories. And the pavilion has provided the Pacific with a dedicated platform, as it were, to come together, share their stories, call for action, and also exchange knowledge.
It is absolutely critical for the Pacific and New Zealand to be working together to host the pavilion, but also to amplify the Pacific voices.
One of the key aspects behind our pavilion is really humanizing the stories of Pacific people that will complement the negotiations here at COP. We humanize the science, we humanize the politics, we create a voice for the voiceless.
Te whare o te aroha, whare o te manaki, o te whare o te kōrero. And it is a house, it is our home where we tell our stories. It is our house of knowledge, and it is where we share love.
The conference is a busy place with over 20,000 registered attendees, negotiations all day, every day, and a wide variety of pavilions offering up an exciting selection of discussions and events to observe or take part in. Drawing people in when there is so much choice can be daunting. Our secret weapon?
You know that there's an event happening here all across the campus because those drums have sort of been ringing out to invite people in.
Our company, Rocco Pacifica, it was founded as sort of an initiative to bring in like cultural dance and music into sort of the more modern art industry.
A lot of the work that we do in the group we're in called Rocco Pacifica is based around climate change, ocean and preservation of culture.
I think it's very important, just like giving like a bit of flavor to something that outsiders might see as a bit boring, a bit like monotonous, but bringing music and like art and dance into it, it kind of just like livens everything up and makes it a bit more interesting. So just like, yeah, just adds a bit more flavor to it.
And life and color and wowness.
And draw the crowds in, they did. We expressed our views, found like-minded people that were affected, people that were hopeful, people that were frustrated. We shared, we laughed, and we cried.
This is my favorite pavilion. I just love it. I love the music, I love the dancing, I love the singing.
For Pacific people, poetry, art, dance, forms of ritual are not just color pieces and forms of expression. It's our language. It's the way that we express pain, we process things, and that needs to be taken into consideration. So while some of these things is great and looks great on social media, we have to recognize that the poems, the artwork, the dances, the rituals are coming from a place of not just frustration and to raise the issue, but coming from a place of pain, of hurt, and of fear.
Proudly our youth were there, demanding to be heard.
We may not be experts or scientists or carry PhD degrees, but we are your children who are determined on making you see the realities for the climate emergency that we are facing today and ensuring that your actions are accounted for.
We need to stop having these meetings and we need to take action now. And really, we need to hold our leaders accountable because it's obvious that the fossil fuel industry funds many politicians and that they put profits before people, and that needs to stop. And I hope they know that the eyes of your young people are watching you.
We don't want to be included or involved in the 11th hour just to tick boxes, but we should rather be engaged in all aspects of the discussions and development of projects, ideas, and policies.
Our message is urgent, but our voices are thoughtful.
Yahweh and greetings from the Marshall Islands. And may I remind you, the Marshall Islands' contribution to climate change is only 0.00001%.
There's a bigger narrative to be told around the Pacific Islands as fighting islands and not just victims. We don't only look to the Pacific for what exactly climate change can do, but what resilient citizens can do in the face of it.
Hearing people speak about climate change, especially leaders and people from foreign places, and to speak about the effects that we're facing in Kiribati, gives me a sort of like a saddened perspective. I acknowledge and thank them for what they're doing, but for me, I want to speak on behalf of my Kiribati, on behalf of the youth. I want my voice to be heard, not theirs to speak for me, because my experiences in my country is different from what they are experiencing. And that is what I want to share, my experience, because what I'm facing now in my country is something that someone else from someplace else cannot say for me. We, the youth of today, are the ones who are going to be facing and living in what you decide to do today. If you decide not to act today, maybe we're going to be just lying in the ocean, swimming, eating salty taro, eating salty breadfruit, not having fresh water, because we don't want to leave our lands. The youths need to be part of the discussion, because we are the future.
The Maori, the Roi, or the Tabamoa. Health, peace, and prosperity. Ambassador, thank you.
Our elders are listening and encouraging us.
The youth are important across the Pacific. They have certainly a future, and we don't want to jeopardize that future, especially in this climate crisis. Sometimes we don't provide that's the necessary sort of groundwork to enable them to and encourage them to be actors. We have to provide that incentive. As leaders, we have that responsibility.
The youth must stand up, must continue to be champions. I'm really confident that the future generations are now stepping out and speaking out. I think that's what the world needs.
All the time. I've looked for love in all the same old places. Found the bottom of the bottles always dry.
We are telling our own stories through music, dance, and even film.
Heavily mai, heavily mai, heavily mai. Moli moli ke oko, moli moli ke oko, moli moli ke oko. Na mamalu kehe kehe, haka he atonu mai. Kupapa mai kaulua, malani.
The waka is tokelau, and on this waka are our tupuna or ancestors, our grandparents, our mothers, our fathers, our children, our future generations. They are all on the waka, and they all have a role to play. They have a contribution. Their view is valued, and they are part of the solution.
Waka Documentary is about the Tokelauan people's use of cultural wisdom mixed with modern technology in response to climate change.
New Zealand wants to amplify the voices of the Pacific, to give them the mic on climate change.
You really feel their vulnerability because all you see is ocean for miles and miles, for days and days. It took 55 hours to get there from Apia, Samoa. They're only slightly above sea level, so there are no places to run in case of a storm surge. They don't have the luxury of thinking about solving climate change down the road. They wake up in the morning and they see their shoreline washing away.
We in the Pacific will not be beaten by climate change. We are the least responsible, but we are showing the rest of the world we are taking action.
Currently, we have 6 solar farms so far throughout Tonga, 3 in the main island and 1 each in the outer islands. By early next year, we're going to have 3 more solar farms through the IPP.
Earlier this year, we announced our intention to plant 4 million trees in 4 years.
Most of our country is now using clean energy for electricity, solar. My people are conservationists by nature. It's part of their DNA.
Meanwhile, the world's negotiators debated day after day. As we got closer to the end, there was a growing feeling that decisions around implementing the Paris Agreement were not going to get the urgent attention we had hoped for.
I think there's more that all countries can be doing to help support the Pacific, because if we're able to save the Pacific Islands, we're able to save the world.
Although we have different interests and challenges, we know if we can do it together, it will be for the betterment of the Pacific.
We should not lose faith. We must work together, be unified, because if we are in unity, then others will be in unity with us as well.
The results were less than we had hoped for. While we wait for COP26 in Glasgow, Scotland, we do so knowing that we are not alone. People all over the world feel the way we do. They stand with us shoulder to shoulder, demanding to be heard.
I don't think that the Pacific is alone. I mean, there are many other countries of other regions, the Caribbean, the Indian Ocean as well, that are looking to see some resolution so that the Paris rulebook is finalised.
Everybody's on the same canoe on climate crisis, including those in the Pacific and the world. Industrialized and developing countries are all our neighbors. We must come together to urgently address the cause of climate change. As simple as that.
Whilst things like the decisions and the outcomes themselves might not be great, there is actually huge momentum on ambition, both for mitigation and also for adaptation, and that can only be good for the Pacific.
See, you know how to be a general, tread upon like federal, situation critical. I don't trust no chemical, keeping me traditional, plastic a minimal. See me got the visual, clean and spiritual. What we gonna do is a reflection of the.
I urge all of you to raise your voices in demanding a bright future. Use your voices to challenge anyone, including those who might be older and seemingly more powerful, who dismiss your calls for action or pretend your future does not matter. Use your voice to stake your claim. Demand the future you know is right and know is possible.
When my daughter whines, I tell her, say what you want in a nice voice. My nice voice is reserved for meetings with a view, my palm outstretched saying, here are our problems. Legacies rolling out like multicolored marbles. Don't focus so much on the doom and the gloom they keep telling us. You don't want to depress everyone. This is only our survival. We rely heavily on foreign aid, I am instructed to say. I am instructed to point out the need for funds to build islands, move families from wado to wado, my mouth a shovel to spade the concrete with, but I am only pointing out neediness. So needy, these small, underdeveloped countries. I feel myself shrinking in the back of the taxi when a diplomat compliments me. How brave for admitting it so openly. The allure of global negotiations dulls like the back of a worn spoon. I lose myself easily in a KMM. KMM defined as feast, a celebration. A baby's breath endures their first year, so we pack hundreds of families and bodies into tents, lined up for plates I pass to my cousin assembly line style. Our gloved hands pluck out barbecue chicken, fried fish, scoop potato salad, do like droplets of bup and mad. Someone yells for another container of jajami, the speaker warbles a keyboarded song, a child inevitably cries. Mine is dancing in the middle. The MC shouts, mine. The children are obstructing our view. Someone wheels a grandma onto the dance floor. The dances begin now. Here is a nice celebration of survival.